Good evening, and thank you for joining us for our Hidden History Hispanic Heritage Special. Over the next half hour, we'll show you the bright and vibrant Hispanic community here in Keloland. You'll hear from several Latino and Latina leaders who are making their voices heard in South Dakota to improve their community and bring awareness of their culture. We'll also take you to two churches in Keloland with deep ties to their Hispanic community, how one was reborn thanks to its community and how the other is in the middle of the immigration debate. Then we're showing you the true meaning behind Cinco De Mayo and the Day of the Dead. Plus, we'll take you on a food tour across several countries to show you how wide-ranging Latino foods can be. First, tonight we sat down with community leaders in the Hispanic community here in Sioux Falls. We asked them how their community is growing and changing and if they have experienced discrimination or racism. Here's what they told us. Jackie's restaurant owner, Jackie Van Lowe, was born in Guatemala, but she now owns this and two other restaurants bearing her name in Sioux Falls. Here at this table in her restaurant, she's joined by Alex Ramirez, born in Mexico, now the vice chair of the Sioux Falls Area Chamber of Commerce's Board of Directors. Across from him is Pastor Otto Garcia, born in Guatemala, former U.S. Army combat medic, and current chaplain for the Sioux Falls Police Department. Next to him is Roosevelt High School senior Chiara Casillas Carrillo, born in the United States to Mexican and Guatemalan parents. Finally, there's Monica Conover, born in Mexico, now a teacher at Lincoln High School. This quintet is just an example of Sioux Falls' diversity. We began with a look at how the Hispanic community is changing in South Dakota.
The community is really changing, especially here in Sioux Falls. The diverse community is really growing, especially the Hispanic community. I moved here 8 years ago, and I would not see a whole lot of Hispanic people around. And nowadays, I see a lot of Hispanic people walking around, going to the events, attending different things, and it's a great thing.
He says this presents a challenge too,
because all of these new people that we see, we have to make sure that they, fit into our community, that they, they aren't just out in the shadows.
With me going to Roosevelt, last year I started a club called Latinos Unidos, and we started off with 10 kids, just Hispanic 10 kids. Then it grew up to 30, and this year I believe we have 70.
Carrillo started the club to help people feel included.
Not everyone is welcomed in the community, especially Latinos that come from their country and they start the school year and they don't know English, they don't have friends. I just want them to feel comfortable with the community, so just because they don't speak English or they don't know anything in Sioux Falls, I want them to know that I'm there for them.
One of the themes that emerged in the conversation was pride in who they are.
We need to feel proud to speak Spanish, to where we are from, know our roots and everything.
I'm glad that I'm Hispanic. I'm glad to say I'm Latina, even though I was born here in the United States.
Garcia brings up his parents and their arrival in the United States.
They came with the dream to do something in America that they were not able to do in their countries. So whenever you see Latinos in Sioux Falls shopping around, remember, we are bringing finances to the city. And the city needs to understand that.
He doesn't want to be seen as a minority.
The moment you see us, don't see us like a minority. See us like a financial giant that is awakening in the city.
Ramirez says as a Latino in Sioux Falls, he feels responsibility.
I feel that my job here, for one thing, is just to inform the Hispanic community about things that I know and that I find about and that they don't know about. But another thing is I want to be on those boards to make a difference, have a decision on things that are being decided in the community.
He also spoke about a situation people in the Hispanic community might encounter.
I remember going to a restaurant a couple years ago, or actually since I first moved here, I used to go to a restaurant and my wife is white. And so I used to talk to the waitress, and the waitress wouldn't look at me; she would look at my wife. I would ask a question, and she would answer to my wife instead of me. And it was almost like she wasn't used to seeing me or something, And so it's changing, but the responsibility is there, I feel that it's my responsibility to make it easier for people who are coming after me.
Other participants around the table shared instances of prejudice.
You do housekeeping on which factory? And I said, no, sir, I do radiology.
Conover met someone who took issue with her speaking Spanish to her kids at a grocery store.
Speak English. And I said, you know, this is not the conversation between you and I, sir. This is my language with my kids.
I had one person come up to me while I was talking with another person and say, you guys should go back to your country. You don't belong here.
The group has warm words for Sioux Falls and the United States.
Gracias a este país por la educación para mis hijos.
Thanks to this country for the education for my kids, and God willing, my kids go forward and that they're proud of being Mexican Americans.
De ser Mexicoamericanos.
Pues Sioux Falls me ha abierto las
Sioux Falls has opened doors for me, and I have a lot of family that depend on me.
que dependen de mí.
Esta ciudad.
This city gives the welcome. He who wants to progress in this city, he's going to achieve it.
At the store that I work, people are so happy because they have someone that speaks Spanish.
When asked what it means to be Hispanic in Sioux Falls, Van Lowe responds simply in Spanish.
Significa éxito, mucho éxito.
This translates to, it means success, a lot of success. It's simple, clear, and self-evident. Just look around the table. We are just getting started with our Hispanic Heritage special. After the break, we'll take you to two churches in Keloland that are closely connected to their Hispanic community next. Welcome back to our Hispanic Heritage special. Last December, Our Lady of Guadalupe Church in Sioux Falls suffered significant damage in a fire. After months of work, we're now able to take you inside the revitalized, reopened, and shining sanctuary. A church is so much more than a building.
El edificio en realidad significa.
The building in reality means a lot because it is like a second home. It's where one finds peace, where one finds perhaps friendships, brothers and sisters in the faith. It means a lot.
Significa mucho.
Es como una bienvenida.
It's like a welcome to the people who come from other countries. It's like your second home.
Segundo casa. It's a deeper sense of community and closer to our religion, our Lord, because it's in our own native language.
Father Christopher Cowles is the priest. He estimates 700 to 1,000 people attend Mass here every weekend.
For many of the people who move to this city, the very first place that they get used to visiting, while it may be Wells Fargo Bank or other things like that, is this parish. Before anything else, this becomes their home. This becomes a safe haven for them, a sanctuary. And for so many of them, they identify with this particular building as their home.
It's not just for the faithful of Sioux Falls either.
They drive in from Baltic or Mitchell, or at times come up from Sioux City just to visit the church and to spend time in prayer here.
Last December, part of the church caught fire. No one was hurt, but the damage was considerable, including to an image of the church's namesake, Our Lady of Guadalupe.
In that moment, I felt like she preferred to go, instead of all of us going, because this could have happened.
In the Catholic tradition, she, the Virgin Mother of Jesus, appeared to St. Juan Diego in modern-day Mexico. The faithful's relationship to Our Lady of Guadalupe, Nuestra Señora de Guadalupe in Spanish, is as sacred as it is personal.
I think that in that moment, she covered us with her cloak and didn't allow anything to happen to us with the fire, because there was no human damage.
This image of Our Lady is new. The church surrounding her is now revitalized and reborn. The first weekend of Masses in this church since the fire was in early August.
Like the saying says, after the storm comes the calm, and this is the calm.
It's a message from the Virgin or from God that we should have faith.
The truth is, it's the same church, but in nearly every way the details are different so that it draws people's hearts and minds to God.
Different people helped make this happen. Cowles says Dave's Flooring America donated this mosaic of Juan Diego and Mary. A family donated this mosaic of Jesus and Joseph. A priest donated these Stations of the Cross. The painting was donated too. The vibrant blue of the ceiling, together with these stars, are the same as what you see on Our Lady of Guadalupe's clothing.
There's many individual donors who I have no idea who they are, who simply saw our story and wanted to help. And I am so thankful to them, as well as the people of this community are very thankful to them, because the people of this parish often have limited means, don't have the money to give for something like this, but they've brought about such an incredible dignity to the Latino population here in Sioux Falls.
Nuestra comunidad no tiene mucho dinero.
Our community doesn't have a lot of money, but there are a lot of very good people who have supported us a lot.
For many of them, when they walk in, they're amazed and they're just taken aback, and they say, "This is my church?" Yes, this is your church. Why is it so beautiful? Because you deserve it. And the people in this community love you and want to take care of you.
The renovation has left Lovey Bliss with different feelings.
In a way, I feel a little renewed, and at the same time, I feel a little nostalgic.
Tell me about that.
Oh, nostalgic because we were so used for 20 years. We were used to seeing it the original way, the way we actually got it. And when we first came in, and nostalgia, and that would be nostalgic side. The renewal part, the renew part is that it looks more beautiful than ever.
A home doesn't have to be unchanging. It can develop, evolve, mature. And maybe it becomes even more of a home because of this.
Yo siento que ahora es mejor que antes.
I feel that now it's better than before, and it's going to be better than before, because we wanted to repair the church.
It's the kind of hope that we have here, that after suffering without a church, now we have a very, very nice church ready.
This place has always been their home. But when you see a transformation in your own personal home, you desire to be there more. You find it a more comfortable space. You allow yourself to pray there more. And that's exactly what this has become.
A place of worship can mean different things to different people. It can also be a home, a refuge, and a place of hope. That holds true for the bilingual St. Mary's Catholic Church in Worthington, Minnesota. Rolando Alfredo Perez Cardona of Worthington is from Guatemala. He's a member of St. Mary's.
For me, it's a privilege to be a member of this parish, and it makes me feel very good because it's a parish in which I really experience the love of God through everything.
The Reverend Miguel Eduardo Proaños Hernandez is a priest here. He's from Colombia.
It's the common home, like Pope Francis says. It's everyone's home. It's the home of the migrant where the doors are always open to receive everyone.
And people feel that they're accepted and that they are welcomed. And it's a place that is theirs. They're not visitors. They're part of the community and an integral part of the community.
Callahan is the pastor here. He has no Hispanic blood, but his heart is still Hispanic.
It's an amazing experience to be able to worship with the Hispanic community and to be able to have the privilege to really learn from them what it means to be a people of openness and love and compassion.
I feel the presence of God here.
Callahan says there are likely more than 2,000 members of the parish. He estimates that more than half are Hispanic.
I've been a priest for 43 years, and I've worked for 43 years working with immigrants, refugees, and migrants from all over the world. And to me, it's been the greatest gift, is to be able to have that privilege of working with immigrants, migrants, and refugees. Because when I see them, I see the face of God.
In recent years, the national debates and conversation about immigration and race have often reached intense fever pitches. 2 years ago, St. Mary's made a decision.
In 2016, we declared our church a sanctuary church because after the presidential elections, people were just living in constant fear. And what we did is we told the community that we would do everything possible to help them and to protect them.
What this means is someone in fear of deportation can come to St. Mary's and hopefully, Callahan says, be protected from deportation here. He explains that ICE, or U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, does have jurisdiction.
They do have jurisdiction, but it's considered churches, schools, hospitals are considered sensitive areas, and thus far they have not gone into the churches or to the schools or to the hospitals.
During politically turbulent times, when intense rhetoric often flies across the aisle, having this refuge is meaningful.
It gives them a sense of peace, and it gives them a sense of hope.
In a melting pot such as St. Mary's, differences don't need to divide.
We can miss family, we can miss our culture, but to find ourselves here and to share the faith with other brothers who come from other countries and who arrive with the same conditions, and this makes it so that we can form a family.
una familia. Esta parroquia a mí me ha ayudado.
This parish has helped me a lot spiritually. I have not felt alone, because I always come here to take refuge with God.
Me vengo acá a refugiar con Dios.
Above all, it's a place of hope.
After the break, do you know the true meaning behind the Day of the Dead and Cinco de Mayo? We'll give you a history lesson next. Welcome back. Do you know the meaning behind Cinco de Mayo? Monica Cortez with our sister station KTSM in El Paso, Texas, explains the difference between Cinco de Mayo and Mexico's Independence Day.
Do you know the difference between Cinco de Mayo and the 16th of September?
I do not.
Do you celebrate Cinco de Mayo first off?
Not really, but I know what it is, yeah.
Oh, perfect. What is it?
The 5th of May. Isn't it like Mexican independence?
What's the difference between Cinco de Mayo and 16 de septiembre?
Cinco de Mayo is the battle in Puebla, I'm mistaken, where the French invaded Mexico, and 16th of September is our Independence Day.
Okay, Cinco de Mayo is the Batalla de Puebla, and then 16 is Mexico's independence.
El 16 de septiembre is celebrated by Mexicans as the day the revolution against Spanish rule began in 1810.
The Grito celebrates September 16th when the priest in Dolores, Mexico rang the bell in order to signal the cry to arms for the fight for independence.
That priest was Miguel Hidalgo y Costilla, a leader in Mexico's war for liberty.
So it was their beginning of their independence. We wrote a declaration, they rang a bell, and in the end it was the same result.
Even though the revolution started in 1810, it would turn to a war that would last more than 10 years.
Some of the events from Mexico at times have spilled over into El Paso, and it helps to remind that not only do we have this American heritage, but we're lucky to have a Mexican heritage as well.
El Grito is often confused with another historic date in Mexico's history, Cinco de Mayo, which is heavily celebrated in the U.S.
They both had to do with winning wars. The Cinco de Mayo was celebrating the winning of the Battle of Puebla, and that was when France and Austria were trying to come and take over Mexico. And even though the French didn't leave for a little while, that battle was kind of the turning point, and so Cinco de Mayo celebrates that victory.
But it doesn't seem to bother some El Pasoans.
I just think that people need to be more educated before celebrating something, but I don't think it really affects us, so I don't know. You can party whenever you want.
A reminder of how two countries are intertwined by more than just geography.
And I think it's also important for our students to understand that everything that we are and everything that we do today is a blend and does come from the past. And so if you understand both sides of it, then it makes you, I think, a better citizen.
Another Hispanic celebration that is sometimes misconstrued is Day of the Dead. KTSM reporter Susie Castillo tells us what makes this holiday unique.
It's a day where there's no lamentation. They're not feeling down because of somebody they lost.
Dia de los Muertos, or Day of the Dead, is usually joyful, recognizing death as part of the human process.
But the culture of the Dia de los Muertos is such that they're celebrating the lives of the people that went before them.
A tradition that's been going on mostly in Mexico and Central America, now spreading into the U.S. Historians Melissa and Bernie Sargent say on Dia de los Muertos, a festival brings color to Concordia Cemetery, El Paso's oldest cemetery.
It just changes the whole look of the cemetery. It's kind of literally comes back to life. His stone has always been graved with decorated with flowers.
Families and friends will gather around a gravesite.
I'm sure you might see the family would come out here maybe on Day of the Dead to celebrate, have their chairs set up around the gravesite.
Whether it is on the gravesite or an altar, people often decorate with a photo of their loved one surrounded with flowers and anything that their loved one liked to eat or drink.
And the dead come back and celebrate with the family. They're remembered, they have conversations, the dead enjoy the foods that have been put out, the favorite foods that the dead had. They come back, celebrate, and party with the families.
The purpose is to call their spirit to join them for a day as family and friends celebrate that person's life.
The communication, most of which is sort of subconsciously. They feel a presence of that person, and they feel that person is reaching out to them from the beyond and sharing with them what's going on, and encouraging them that life will always end by passing. Do not be, don't have any negatives about it. enjoy your life while you can, and look forward to being with them in the afterlife.
Another item traditionally placed on an altar are the popular sugar skulls, made completely out of sugar and decorated with sugar icing.
Palpable for children, especially. The sweetness, it's kind of the sweetness that is life and death.
Olga Avantmier, or as many know her, Señora Calavera, means skull lady. She's been making sugar skulls more than 25 years, teaching others how to make them too.
And it was a way to pass down culture to our children, do something with them that is artistic and also part of their culture.
Throughout the decades, they've become more vibrant and colorful.
Every single skull is unique and different. If it was a girl, we would sometimes do flowers. If it was a man, we can do a mustache.
Coming up in our final segment of Hispanic Heritage, get those taste buds ready as we take you on an international tour of Hispanic cuisine next. From Mexico to Central and South America and through the Caribbean, we celebrate different cultures and traditions. And while here in the United States, we are most familiar with Mexican food, Mexican cuisine alone does not define all Hispanic countries. Amber Frias with our sister station KGET in Bakersfield, California, has a look.
United by one language, individual customs, traditions, ethnic dialect, and especially food bring out the unique charm of each country. Like most Latin American menus, Salvadorian dishes are centered around corn. One of the country's most notable dishes is the pupusa, a corn tortilla stuffed with beans, cheese, and pork. Let's explore Cuba.
A lot of spices, a lot of garlic, like a combination of African America like Latin America.
A Cuban restaurant staple, ropa vieja, stewed beef shredded pulled with vegetables. It is one of Cuba's national dishes. Mexican food, you have the basics, tacos, tortilla chips, and burritos. But it's important to know each region cooks up its own flavors.
If you go to the south, say Yucatan, Mérida, the achiote for sure. It's heavy, and achiote, many other heavy spices on those states. If you go to the coast, we speak about salt and lemon because the seafood, we do a lot of ceviche. If we could talk to the north, I would say heavy sauce with spice and a lot of meats. But if we talk to the center of Mexico, which is Mexico City, where I come from, it becomes a very delicate cuisine.
Standard Mexican foods tend to deliver some heat, which makes it unique among Hispanic cuisine.
You cannot think about Mexican food without spices, without chiles, without salsas.
Culinary classics from different cultures vary from country to country, community to community. Enough special flavors to enjoy an extraordinary feast during Hispanic Heritage Month.
That's all the time we have for our Hidden History Hispanic Heritage Special. For more information about these stories, check out our Hispanic Heritage page at KELOLAND.com. Thank you for joining us, and have a great night.